So one question I have, which you went from being sort of an agency to sort of being in the media space, and now obviously as a business that has to do its own marketing. I'm curious, how do you think about your marketing budget differently now that it's your marketing budget, not a client's marketing budget? Have you sort of changed your thinking at all with regards to sort of whether it should be DR metrics or branding metrics or earned media versus paid media? How have you evolved your thinking about, where should marketing dollars go? Or is it sort of the same way you thought about it 15 years ago?
Yeah, I love the kind of the online and the offline aspect. So for us, like I like to use events to build my brand. And so here, for example, and we also use a lot of online too, but on the offline side during the summer, we would throw a big monthly event like once a month. You can kind of imagine it like the 212 party, or back in the .com days, maybe at the Standard on the rooftop, maybe something you think back on. But yeah, we tried to really bring together the whole digital community here in Portugal, not only the digital nomads, but the digital people and all of the hosts. Have a really nice event, build the brand that way, so they have a really strong affiliation to the brand. While we were working on building the technology, because that would kind of buy us a little time. But yeah, on the acquisition side, since we were building a marketplace, we have the supply side and the demand side. So for us, a lot of it was trying to build supply first, because we knew there was a lot of demand. People are looking for this kind of inventory, and it really didn't exist. So a lot of our marketing, it was interesting. I used a lot of actually Facebook ads in the early stages, pretty much all Facebook advertising and Facebook organic to really drive the brand and also to acquire hosts. So I think everyone in Portugal knows who we are, because I've run so many Facebook ads that even when I went to go rent my car one time, I was signing the agreement for the rental agreement down in Faro, which is in the Algarve. And I was walking out of the rental place. The lady says, "Are you from NomadX? Because I think I want to rent one of my apartments with you." So we built a very strong brand. Like everyone in Portugal really recognizes the brand. Unfortunately, as we were kind of building the brand up, we never really got to the stage where we're doing hardcore acquisition marketing on the customer side, because we're still building the platform, onboarding a lot of hosts. But I think, yeah, it's a lot of the same tools. It's, I think search obviously is a great tool. The organic search is huge. Having a really good organic search presence. I think most of the companies in our space, they lean heavily on organic search. Like we look at their metrics online, a lot of them are getting 60, 70% of the traffic. Organic search, paid search obviously is a big lever to pull. Any sort of affiliate, ambassador type programs can be good as well. The Facebook ads and the Instagram ads, like I said, and then obviously the content plays. So I think in this day and age, everything's about content. It's kind of like the Gary V approach, but we never produced that amount of content. But I do think, yeah, having a good content strategy is super important. And then how do you carry that content across multiple platforms and kind of get the biggest bang for your buck there is important. And then the usual stuff, like doing stuff like this, getting on the podcasts and speaking at conferences and just being out there and networking with people in the industry. I try to make myself pretty available. People reach out to me with a nice message on LinkedIn, not one of the standard messages. I'll generally get back in touch with them, and I try and make myself available. So yeah, just the guerrilla marketing tactics that we all know as bootstrapped entrepreneurs, just trying to make the most of the buck. Although at the end of the day, I'd say I probably wasted half of my investment, because it's just inevitably, as much as you might learn and know along the way, the industry's changing so much, and this business was a lot different from my previous businesses. So it was, it's as much as I brought in a lot of knowledge, I'm always learning something new.
Absolutely. Well, everything changes as around us. Obviously for did its business on the digital side, Google and Facebook do end up sucking up a big chunk of the budget. I'm curious whether, from your perspective, sort of if there's anything on the horizon that you think will, has the potential to sort of be the next best thing, because obviously we're still, overspending, I guess, not from a results perspective, but from a concentration risk perspective. There's just a huge concentration going into Google and Facebook. So sort of, I think everybody in the industry is sort of waiting, like, okay, well, where else am I going to be able to put my money? And so have you seen anything that you're sort of optimistic about, that you were like, oh, if only TikTok would work or whatever? Like, is there any upcoming platform that you think has the potential to sort of rival Facebook from the perspective of high ROI direct response marketing.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because my customers, digital nomads, are like people on the internet back in the mid 90s. They don't want to be marketed to. They hate the idea of ads, and this could just be this younger generation too. So it's very difficult to market to them, and they tend to be very budget oriented. So it's like, and they're minimalists. So my audience, I would say, it's probably one of the hardest audiences to market to. So for us, we have to be very authentic. So maybe it's not a strategy in terms of like Facebook or Google, but I think what this younger consumer is looking for is really authentic brands. They're looking for brands that are giving back and that are sustainable and doing good for the environment. And it's not just about business. So I think, trying to make sure that kind of that sort of positioning becomes evident in how you're doing your marketing, I feel like is super important to support a lot of these other channels. And I think there's a lot, with word of mouth. So I think with this younger generation, a lot of them, find out either through them, taking pictures and sharing them on Instagram. And so some of this stuff is just out of your control a bit. So that's, that may not give you like a specific channel to go after, but I think it's worth investing in those areas, investing in your people, building good relationships in the industry. And all of that kind of creates a halo around the brand, which I think will benefit you significantly as you go out there with your marketing campaigns. I think, as you were mentioning before, with your Giving Forward program, when you attach that to e-commerce, you saw a significant lift in performance. I think the same holds true as if you bring those values into your company and you look a lot more like we were a public benefit corporation, so we never got certified as a B Corp, but I think the B Corps is really the future for businesses. We were also looking to do a program here in Europe, a company called Cedars, which offers a secondary exchange where you can do crowdfunding. So we never actually got to complete the crowdfunding because the pandemic hit, but our goal was actually to crowdfund, ideally with our community, with the hosts and the guests, and even those outside of the community, and really have a business that's funded and supported by the community and that does a lot to give back. We feel like that's the future for a lot of these businesses, instead of these larger corporations, which kind of do a lot of greenwashing, and they try and make it seem like they're very authentic, but really at the end of the day, they're just all about making money. So I think that's kind of our approach, at least, trying to head down that path more.
It's interesting you mentioned it about the sort of giving back. One of the experiments we ran under Giving Forward was to democratize the corporate philanthropy for a client that ended up being a Did It client. And, they mentioned that they wanted to get involved in maybe some corporate philanthropy or some CSR. And we said, well, why don't we let your customers decide where the money goes? And so we ran a free Zoom comedy event with a friend of mine who pulled together he's a comedian who pulled together our slate of performers. And, we marketed the event and we let everybody know, like, hey, as you're registering for the free event, pick a nonprofit, and then based on all the votes, that's how we'll distribute this big chunk of money. And the feedback we got from the people was like, this is absolutely great. Like no corporation ever gives us the choice of where their corporate philanthropy is going. So it happened to have it. Not only was it great from a branding and awareness perspective, but the direct response KPIs were off the charts, which really sort of surprised us, because we had like coupon codes and stuff during the comedy performance that people could use so that we could actually see like how well is this working. And it worked incredibly well from an ROI basis. It beat both Facebook and search for that month that we ran it. It's not as scalable as those two, but we were just so pleased that democratized corporate philanthropy could not only be a checkbox, like, oh, we're doing this, we're giving back here. It was really more like, no, it's not just a checkbox. It hits the KPIs, right? And that was, we're hoping to productize that and take it out more fully. But because usually corporate philanthropy is in its own little department, and like they never think about the direct ROI of any corporate philanthropy. It's really just a checkbox, and maybe it's the C-suite decides where the money goes because that's just their personal favorite cause. But by empowering the customers, I think it was really cool. Maybe we try to figure out how to weave employees into the mix the next time, right? And let the employees perhaps create the curated list from which the customers pick right? And that way now you've engaged both the customers and the employees in this sort of corporate philanthropy. So it's a lot of fun, that stuff, because companies are looking for a way to be socially responsible and to deliver positive impact, but I think a lot of them are still at a loss.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I saw actually one of my friends in Atlanta done something similar within his agency. I guess, like you said, they had groups pick out the philanthropy that they wanted to support, and then I guess everyone's in there clicking on which one they want to support. I mean, it was like hundreds of thousands of clicks. So it's a great way to drive engagement, get the organization involved. I think people want to feel really good about where they work. They want to feel really good about the companies that they're working with. I think that's super important to this next generation of consumer. And I think coming off this pandemic, I think this next generation coming through, they're much more oriented around meditation, yoga, giving back, working for organizations that have a purpose. And so I feel like, all of that is really what's going to lead this next generation of companies. The ones that are most successful are the ones that are going to do that the best. And if they don't evolve, then it's going to be, it's going to be a slippery slope.
Yep, absolutely. Great. Well, it was great catching up, Dave. I will continue to watch what Flat.io does. Now that you have the advantage of the more stable tech platform and the new island opening up. As soon as the travel restrictions lift, I sort of feel like there's a lot of pent up demand. You guys may end up having a supply problem in the next 6 months, as opposed.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Yes, man. So every y'all out there that are sitting at home, or you want to go on a trip, but don't go on vacation for a week. Actually, go away for a month. Just experiment with the lifestyle. We'd love to host you here in Portugal. NomadX.com. Right. We'd love to have you. You'll get redirected over to Flat.io, but don't worry, we've got a couple discount coupons for you on the site that you can use. But yeah, I think it's the future, cool. and give it a chance. I think it'll be a great way to get away, kind of like also to engage in another culture, and then when you come home, you're going to feel so much more energized, I think, and excited about your work.
Or they may never come home, and you'll just have to
That's true.
Them in new cities as they move around. They'll become true nomads.
or they'll run out of money. So yeah, be careful. You don't spend it all at once.
This sounds good. Thanks so much, Dave.
All right. Take care, Kevin. It's really nice to catch up with you. It's been a while, and really love all your work and what you're up to. And obviously did it. You guys are legends in the industry. So thank you so much for including me in this interview.
Sounds good. Thanks. I hope to get to Portugal soon. It's on my bucket list. So
all right. I'll have you all set up
when the events start back up, hopefully we'll be able to use our vaccine passports to head on over.